Okay, zoning board, it looks like we're up and running, and you may begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I'd like to welcome everyone to the East Hampton Sound Zoning Board of Appeals for August 18, 2026. Our first scheduled public hearing is Deidre Del Monte Trust, 75 Cove Hollow Road in East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-194-3-2.2. Description is an appeal of the Chief Building Inspector pursuant to 255-830A1 of the Town Code. Relief sought is an appeal of the Chief Building Inspector pursuant to 255-830A1 of the Town Code. Appellants seek to challenge the 4/15/26 issuance of a building permit number 78689, authorizing the construction of a 375 square foot accessory building on the subject premises. Zoning district is A resident zone X flood zone. Secret class is type 2. Council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, we have an affidavit of service. No posting is required for this application since it is an appeal by a neighbor, but we have valid affidavit and posting mailing receipts.
Thank you. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of this application?
Yes.
Mr. Huber, before you begin, we have your memorandum of law, so we don't have to go through all of it. But I'm also struggling with this appeal because it appears that a building permit was validly issued for a structure that meets all zoning regs and is consistent with the town code. So I'd like you to address why we're here.
Absolutely. And as I often promise, but sometimes don't deliver on, I will be brief. And with the board's acceptance, I will yield the podium at the end of my presentation to give Mr. Del Monte, who's present, just about 3 minutes to address you. There's
We
something.
also have our chief building inspector here.
Yes. Good
He's
evening,
going to be
sir. Thank
addressing
you
the
for your
board as
time.
well.
Okay, very well. Okay, my microphone's working. Good evening, Chair Savarese and members of the board. John Huber of Walson Schmid and Huber for appellant Deidre Del Monte Trust, owner of the premises at 5 Blueberry Lane, East Hampton, which immediately adjoins the premises at 75 Cove Hollow Road, which is benefited by building permit BP 78689, authorizing construction of the structure in question. This appeal places 2 issues before the board. First, whether the building department correctly applied Town Code Chapter 255 when it issued, without ARB or ZBA review, the building permit in question for construction of a structure that is approximately 75 feet long, 15 feet high, and only 5 feet deep, running substantially parallel to my client's property. Second, whether construction of that very structure should be permitted to proceed while this board decides whether the permit authorizing it was lawful. On the merits, our position is straightforward. The town code should not be circumvented by nomenclature. The ZBA should examine what the structure actually is, what it actually does, and the impact the code was enacted to regulate. Dimensions alone should cause the ZBA to scrutinize the permit. This is not a conventional shed. It is 75 feet long, 5 feet deep, 15 feet high, substantially parallel to the common property boundary. It extends along a significant portion of that boundary, and it's intended to create a substantial, continuous visual barrier. The approved plans themselves identify a 15-foot high storage shed and depict its 75-foot linear configuration. We transmitted a copy of the relevant plans, sheets A-000 through S-301 to the ZBA as part of our June 23rd, 2026 online submission to the town's OpenGov portal. The permit, copy of which we also submitted, describes the offending structure only as a 375 square foot accessory building. But 375 square feet tells only part of the story. Those 375 square feet have been configured into an extraordinary 75 to 5-foot length to depth ratio. That configuration is central to this appeal. A structure should not escape town code restrictions such as those found at Code Section 255-1131 and Code Section 255-1138, which are directed at walls and privacy screening merely because 5 feet of depth has been added to the structure and the resulting enclosed area is called storage. And the ZBA does not have to speculate about why this configuration exists. As the record demonstrates, before the permit was issued, on March 28, 2025, Mr. Adler wrote directly to my client. A copy of Mr. Adler's email was attached as Exhibit A to my memorandum in support, which I submitted to the ZBA on June 23rd of 2026. In discussing the proposal, Mr. Adler called it a wall. He suggested seeking A or B approval for the wall. And critically, he explained his express purpose. It would give your property and ours more privacy. That contemporaneous communication matters. We're not asking the ZBA to infer someone's subjective intent from architectural drawings alone. Mr. Adler himself described the contemplated improvement as a wall and expressly identified privacy as its function. His decision to obtain a permit denominating the structure a 375 square foot accessory building does not erase the foregoing compelling evidence. I request that the ZBA evaluate the structure according to its objective configuration and actual screening function, not merely the category selected on the permit. The functional analysis is consistent with the town's own code. Section 255-1131 identifies the policy underlying the town's berm, fence, and wall regulations. Its introductory paragraph addresses the proliferation of high privacy walls and massive or opaque structures near property lines that obstruct views and produce a walled-in appearance. That is precisely the concern presented here. Section 255-1138 then regulates walls. Under 255-1138, subdivision C2, the ordinary maximum wall height is 8 feet, with the Architectural Review Board able, upon the required exceptional circumstances, to authorize a height of up to 10 feet. This proposed structure reaches approximately 15 feet. So the classification has an enormous regulatory consequence. If an applicant can take what functions as a 15-foot high privacy wall, make it 5 feet deep, call the resulting enclosure storage, and thereby obtain administrative approval as an accessory building, the wall height protections of Chapter 255 can effectively be avoided. The ZBA should reject an interpretation that creates that loophole. There is additional context in the record. The adjoining parcel at 73 Cove Hollow Road, also owned by Mr. Adler, already contains an approximately 13-foot stucco concrete privacy wall that received ARB approval under the code provisions applicable at that time. The proposed 15-foot linear structure, 75 Cove Hollow Road, would add to and aggravate that existing walled-in condition. The cumulative effect is relevant because Code Section 255-1131 expressly seeks to prevent precisely this type of oversized, continuous, walled-in residential environment. This is not an abstract concern. The ZBA can evaluate the existing condition and the proposed structure together. We therefore respectfully ask the ZBA to find that the building department should not have ended its analysis merely because the proposal qualified facially as an accessory building. The department could have considered Mr. Adler's shed with respect to its actual function dimensions, orientation, opacity, visual impact, and predominant screening purpose under 255-1131 and 255-1138. At a minimum, that requires reversal and a remand for appropriate ARB review, and if required, because of its height, ZBA relief. There's also an immediate procedural issue which I've outlined for the ZBA in my first supplemental memorandum that was submitted via the town's OpenGov portal on August 11th, followed by a hard copy submission on August 18th. My first supplemental memorandum is devoted exclusively to the automatic stay required under Town Law Section 267-A, Subdivision 6. That statute requires that an appeal shall stay all proceedings in furtherance of the action appealed from, subject to the statutory procedure where the enforcement official certifies facts demonstrating that a stay would cause imminent peril to life or property. Our position is deliberately narrow. The action appealed from here is issuance of the permit, BP 78689. The physical erection of the 75-foot structure is direct implementation of that permit. Without that permit, the construction cannot lawfully proceed. We submit that construction of the so-called shed authorized by the challenge permit is the clearest possible example of an act in furtherance of the action appealed from. To our knowledge, no facts specific.
Excuse me 1 second. I need to interrupt just for a brief moment. We did not go on channel for just a few minutes, but whoever's listening at home, you will get the full meeting and rebroadcast at the end. Thank you very much. Please continue.
No fact-specific imminent peril certification has been issued. As a result, I respectfully suggest to the board that construction of the shed should not continue until the matter is resolved. Now, my closing. Members of the board, this case ultimately comes down to two straightforward propositions. On the merits, a structure should be regulated according to what it actually is and does, not merely what someone chooses to call it on a permit application. The objective dimensions say privacy barrier, the orientation says privacy barrier, the visual effect says privacy barrier. And before the permit application, the property owner himself called it a wall and explained that it should provide privacy. Second, while this board decides these issues, the construction under review should not be permitted to overtake the appellate process. We therefore respectfully request that the board reverse the building department's administrative issuance of the permit in question and require review of this under the applicable wall and screening provisions of Chapter 255 with any necessary ARB or ZBA procedure, and determine that further physical construction should be stayed pending disposition of the appeal, absent a legally sufficient imminent peril certification. That said, I'd like to yield the podium to my client, David Del Monte, so that he can personally provide you with a very brief 2 to 3 minute rendition of the underlying events. Thank you for hearing me tonight.
You'll both need to identify yourselves at the podium. Oh, okay. And I have to swear you in. So identify yourself for the record and I'll swear you in.
Great, thank you. And hello, and thank you for your time. My name is David Del Monte, and and my wife Dee Dee and I are the owners of the Five Bluebird.
One moment. Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I'm sorry.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, proceed.
And thank you for your time. And my name is David Del Monte, and my wife Dee Dee and I are the owners of 5 Blueberry Lane in Dune Alpin Farms. And I will be brief. Please realize that we have lived with a substantial privacy wall along the neighboring properties for many years. In 2002, a tall white wall was constructed at 73 Cove Hollow, along with a portion along the same side as our property that is at issue today, and that wall still remains. Now, in 2021, Rudy and Claire Adler purchased that property and later acquired the adjoining 75 Cove Hollow, which shares a major portion of our boundary with our property. In early 2025, after learning that they intended to develop the adjoining lot, we met Rudy and their architect, and Rudy and Claire and their architect, Michael Haverland, to learn of their plans. At that meeting, they explained that what their plans were included a 2-bedroom residence, which you know about, an accessory structure near the rear of the property, and a long structure running parallel to the common property line. We understood that structure to be intended as to provide a privacy between the properties. We understand that the understanding was confirmed when Rudy, in a March 28th, 2025 email to me, said that he was referred the structure and said it would give both properties more privacy. We expressed concern about the size and the location of the wall, and we offered the option of choosing a paint color on the outside or our side, and having ivy planted. But our suggestion of using landscape screening instead was not accepted. We then, and I'll skip some of it because it's redundant. Our concern is not that our neighbors want privacy, nor that they want an accessory building. Our concern is that the extraordinary length and height of this location creates a substantial visual barrier adjacent to our outside living area. We're not asking the board to resolve a personal disagreement between neighbors. We're just respectfully asking that the board to consider the structure based on its actual dimensions and location and function, and to determine whether it should be reviewed by the town under the town provisions governing walls and privacy screening structures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Del Monte. I'd like to hear from the Chief Building Inspector right now.
Good evening.
State your name for the record.
Richard Normoyle, Chief Building Inspector for East Hampton Town Building Department.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Proceed.
With respect to Mr. Huber's description of this structure, it does not meet the intent of a wall in our code. The structure is, there's nothing in our code that says that this applicant is not allowed to build the shed to these dimensions. This is a case of creative architecture. There's nothing that prohibits them from building a 75-foot long, 5-foot wide, 15-foot tall structure. So it wasn't sent to ARB or ZBA because it met the requirements of our of the building code for East Hampton.
So for the record, you're just stating it's consistent with the town code and meets all the zoning regulations.
It meets all the zoning requirements. We had no reason to deny it.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for
Yeah, I do.
building inspector?
Thank you. Mr. Huber suggested that we were in a position where you could subjectively look at this application and decide the intent. Are you in that position?
I'm not. We don't have subjective. Even if I think somebody intends to build something, I cannot deny them a building permit for something that they might do in the future, or if they have an intended use such as this, where he intended to use this as a wall. The structure is allowed to be built under our code as it was proposed.
Thank you.
You know, as an example, if I believe someone intends to build a house with a finished basement, but they don't show it on the plans, I cannot deny them a permit because they might finish the basement, even if it's set up in a way where I think it's probable that they will. It's the structure was proposed in a manner that was consistent with what our code allows.
Does the board have any additional questions?
I have one quick one for Mr. Huber. When
We're talking about, so you don't have questions for the chief building inspector?
no.
Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Huber? We have a question.
Hi, Mr. Huber, thank you. So you said that if it were to be construed as a wall instead, that I understand the point that it would need A or B, it would be an A or B jurisdiction. But when you said it would also require ZBA relief, is that because I just didn't understand what the relief of the
Thank you.
ZBA
It's
would
an
be.
excellent question. So the ARB has jurisdiction under the
Up to 10
code
feet.
to approve up to 10 feet. So when I speak to you and present to you, I try to make clear what the procedural pathway could be in a general sense. So depending what evolves during that process, it could ultimately end up that the ZBA would need to review this. I suppose it would be a recommendation. Mr. Collins certainly is more familiar with the internal processes and protocols, but theoretically, I could see where the ARB might say, we believe in an advisory capacity, the zoning board should take a look at this. And if we extrapolate out to that, and the permittee in this situation came before you to satisfy the criteria for height variance under state law, they would have to explain, why do I need a 15-foot high shed when a 6-foot high shed of normal proportions would suffice? That's possibly the third criteria under the state law. Are alternative designs feasible for the applicant to undertake? It defies anyone's imagination. Why would you need a 15-foot high shed that's only 5 feet deep? Again, I don't want to speculate on the board's time, but
And just
so this is. I suspect that this permittee is not the only one in the town who will exploit this opportunity. And that we're going to have to deal with a whole lot of these situations. And at some point, I suspect if the town board is disgusted enough with it, as they've done many times, they'll amend the code to prevent this kind of thing. I think the basis for that would be the length to depth ratio. So in this case, it's 75 feet long and only 5 feet deep. I've been sort of turning over in my head, if I were in a position to legislate this through a town code, how would the town board articulate the restriction in a usable way?
We're not here to
No, I
speculate
understand.
that. That's
I understand.
out of the jurisdiction of what we're here for. So let's stick to what we're here for.
Do you have something you want to say?
yes, please, thank you. So obviously, anyone has a right to come to appeal a building inspector's decision, but since you put that email into the record where the neighbor described it as a wall and asked your client for their support, was there no option or way for this being a sort of dispute between two neighbors where your client really could have appealed to their next door neighbor to work this out?
We did exhaust that remedy amicably. We told, well, Mr. Del Monte conferred directly with Mr. Adler. I never had direct contact with Mr. Adler. Please, if you would, paint that side of it green, or let's put ivy on it. And my client is undertaking a massive expense to have to plant vegetation to conceal the view of this from his property. And that's at ground level. His second floor bedroom looks out directly at this structure once it's completed. So there's a significant adverse impact on the owner of 5 Blueberry Lane. And we play by the rules after, and so I told my clients, monitor the activity in the building department, between the time that communications with the permittee and my clients ceased. And then about 4 or 5 months later, it was around December, they said, it looks like a permit had been issued in April. And so we really need to do whatever we can in order to at least raise this issue to the consciousness of the officials at the town, because I think objectively, no matter how we look at this, we know it's by the book, so to speak, but it just doesn't feel right. And it just doesn't seem right in practice. Maybe it's an exception, it fell through the cracks. And that email that's in the record from the permittee is actually a unique and valuable piece of evidence. You don't always get an email like that, but there it is. And it demonstrates very clearly what the permittee's intention was in putting up this structure. So that is sort of the straw that might break the camel's back and say, okay, absent that email, we have no way to speculate about what the permittee will or will not do. We know what the intention was before the permit was issued, and we know what the result is now that that structure is being built.
Thank you, Mr.
Now,
Huber.
just 1 second before you go. You understand that we interpret code, we don't create code here. And so when you come in and talk about a flaw in the code, that's a speculative conversation. I want to ask you, as I mentioned to the building inspector, the same question. Is it your position that the building inspector has the ability to subjectively interpret the building codes that we have? Because that's what you're asking for, aren't you?
No, it's an excellent question, as always, and I want to respond to you as thoroughly, respectfully as I can. Certainly the building inspector, the chief building inspector, has discretion to execute his duties. I think that, at first blush, the application says a 375-foot accessory structure. So it's a little, it seems innocuous. But an examination of the plans, it's hard to imagine, and this is not a criticism. Being a chief building inspector in this town is a tough job. So he's under fire constantly from all directions. He's trying to make important decisions in a brief period of time. It's not a criticism of his execution of the duties. It's a question about one application that fell through the cracks when some discretion perhaps could have been used to say, you know what? I don't want to make this decision on my own. Let's have my advisory opinion from the ARB and see what they say. That's why those boards exist. They look at gates. They look at everything. The gate is not opaque. The gate is too close to the road. I've been on applications like that before this board. They're closely scrutinized, and the ARB exercises what power it has to address those. It's hard to imagine something like this can fall through the cracks. And perhaps now, if anything, there's a heightened awareness in the town, and we're all sort of sensitive about how these things can happen, and maybe some preventative judgment, or somebody can step up and say, maybe this one needs to slow down a little bit so we can give it some more scrutiny.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. The structure next door at 73, 2002, do you know how that application was applied for as what?
So I do. I know a bit. When I do these projects, I have to develop an institutional knowledge of the subject property, abutting property. So that wall went up, and then shortly afterward, the code was changed to prevent something like that from being built again. And so it was that way for a long time. And then this creative architecture. I mean, all of us in our respective professions are supposed to use our ingenuity and our gifts to try and advance our clients' positions. Creative architecture is no exception. So in this case, this architect was creative, inspired by what was done on the abutting property, and it got through. So if anything, in life, in our country where we have freedom to speak up, when you see something that doesn't feel right, we have an obligation to speak up, and that's what my clients decided to do. This was not inexpensive for them to prosecute this appeal, as you might imagine, but they said, look, regardless of the cost, we would like to raise the collective consciousness about this and that things like this are going on, and maybe the town can do something, not specifically in response to this, but more generally.
Thank you. Would you like to readdress, or are you? Thank you, Rich.
And as we spoke, the structure, as it is constructed, meets the town code. It is allowed to have a 15-foot roof for an accessory structure. In fact, had the applicant designed this with a gabled roof instead of a flat roof, he would have been allowed to go to 20 foot for an accessory building. The accessory building has a limitation of 600 square foot in size, which this is under, and there is no code that dictates how wide or how long. Perhaps that's something that we need to look at and address in the code for future amendments. But as the code stands today, the structure checks all the boxes and requirements that are in place now.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address this application? Matt, do we have any callers?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to close this public hearing and record. So in the matter of Deidre Del Monte Trust, 75 Cove Hollow Road in East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-194-3-2.2, I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing and record.
Second.
Concur.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Next. Next on our agenda is John Petriello and Ann Ward. We've actually, we'll be making a decision on this application tonight, but I do need to make a motion to close this public hearing because it was left open for 2 weeks from our last meeting, which I think was July 28th. For improper posting. So in the matter of John Petriello and Ann Ward, 11 North Cape Lane in East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-55-4-17, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing record.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you. Next is Ocean View Holdings, LLC, Maram, 21 Ocean View Terrace in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-49-6-26. Description is a modification of the zoning board's determination filed December 9th, 2024, which allowed the construction of 5 poolside cabanas, 35 feet, 11 inches from the top of the bluff, where 150 feet is required. Relief sought is a modification of the Zoning Board of Appeals December 9th, 2024 determination is required to permit the as-built structures to remain, including new location of 5 poolside cabanas of 30 feet, 8.4 inches from the top of the bluff, and a new shed 47 feet from the top of the bluff. Zoning district is a B residence VE velocity flood zone. Secret class is type 2. Council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, sir. Reviewed the affidavit of service and posting, and everything seems to be in order, and the board has jurisdiction over this hearing.
And Member Berger, do we have a field inspection?
Do, short one.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you, Will.
There are 2 postings on this property. This is the first one. So it was correctly posted with the date and time. Next. This is a shot of 4 of the the cabanas. I couldn't get the 5th one in. I'll be in the next shot. Next. And location by the poolside. And then next, the shot of the shed there in the corner that was added since the previous approval that they had. And, well, there's another shot of the ocean if you'd like to see it. Okay, it shows the ocean.
The view from the cabanas.
And actually, there's another one, but go two further because I have the other posting is the last photo in this. And that's the posting down at the other location for the property. It's also property posting.
That's it. Thank you.
Lori Wiltshire for Land Planning Services.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. This is a very small presentation on it's a slight shift of location of these cabanas. They're 5 feet closer to the bluff crest than what was originally approved. This, according to my client, was actually builder error. The shed was built, and also I wanted to make a point that these cabanas are intended to be seasonal and removed in the winter. And they built a shed next to it, which also requires a bluff crest setback because it's 42 feet from the bluff crest. And that's where they store the cabanas, the fabric and whatnot, and furniture off season. So what's important, and you can see it in this photo, is that where these cabanas are located, even though they shifted slightly seaward by about 5 feet, still have plenty of other structures between them and the bluff crest. For the swimming pool, the decking, they all exist. And so these are not going to have, as is noted in the TAM, I don't call this a TAM, the review by Will, that there's no anticipated environmental impacts from this modification. But I don't want to belabor your time tonight. It's that simple.
Just the shed. So the shed was added after the approval you got for the cabanas from us.
Correct. Yes.
And could it have gone somewhere else farther away from the bluff?
Well, like I said, there are improvements. If you look at the survey, you can pull the survey up.
Now, the survey we're talking is May 13th, 2026?
Yes. Keep going down. Okay. So you can see here are our cabanas, right? And here's our shed, which is tucked behind this shed and next to this shed. But all of this is behind decking, swimming pool. And your bluff crest is all the way down here.
The added shed is behind the pre-existing shed.
Correct. Yes, and other than that, I would have to go to the parking lot, and we don't want to give up parking spaces.
Okay, how was it that the cabanas couldn't go in the original location?
According to my client,
You said builders error.
because the planning board asked the same question, and he said, honestly, your response of builder error is the truth.
So they just went there, plopped it down, didn't think of anything?
Yeah, they didn't plop anything down.
I mean, they just
these
obviously
footings.
didn't look at a decision.
They didn't look at measure anything. I don't think. They put it on the correct deck. That much they did, but they didn't put it in the location where they were supposed to be, which is back here further.
But there was another option, which is even if it were builder's error, they could still be relocated
They
back
could.
back to where they were approved.
They could, but I don't think there's any impact on the bluff crest at all. I think that if you took up all 20 of these metal footings, that you would destroy the underlying deck, and that would then have to be rebuilt as well, which would actually have more of an environmental impact than would just leaving the cabanas where they are.
Any additional questions for Lori?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we
Thank
hear
you.
from the building department? I'm sorry, you're not the building department? I just promoted you.
Will Edwards for the Planning Department.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My only notes are the cabanas in their new location will require a variance of 119 feet and 9.4 inches. And the shed in its current position will require a variance of 102 feet, 8.4 inches. And I have nothing else to add.
Does the board have any questions for the
Or
planning?
what about a comment about the potential environmental impact from the approval we gave a year ago to the on-site now construction? What is your interpretation of what you think that is going to cause us concern?
Right, so the planning department does not anticipate any further environmental impacts as the shed and the cabanas are located on an already improved surface.
On top of what, concrete?
Decking,
So they're constructing within the existing improved areas.
correct.
Thank you, Will.
It still is a large variance, is it not? And
What was that?
aside from environmental, it is a very large variance.
It is.
Got
Yeah.
even larger.
It is a large variance, but they are sort of a large distance from any area that could be impacted. The bluff crest is about 30 feet. And that space between them is filled with, decking, pool, other improvements. So any impacts would have to travel quite a far way.
Any more questions?
No.
Thank you, Will. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address this application? Matt, do we have any callers?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Lori, is there anything additional?
So, the application of Ocean View Holdings LLC, Marham, 21 Ocean View Terrace, Montauk, tax map 300-49-6-26. Make a motion to close the public hearing and the record.
Second.
I concur.
Thank you. Have a good evening. All right. Next. All right. I'm going to say this name wrong. I'm sorry. The next is Mariam. Is that the next one?
Connors.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to D'Amico first. The next one is Kelly Connors and Richard D'Amico, 143 Mulford Avenue in Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-84-2-8. Description is to demolish an existing 615 square foot residence and accessory structures and construct a 1,601 square foot two-story residence with 988 square foot ground level garage, 1,244 square feet of porches and balconies, and an IA sanitary system on a property within the jurisdiction of wetlands. Relief sought is a natural resource special permit pursuant to 255-420, variances from 255-430, and any other relief necessary. 2 variances of 52.3 feet and 40.2 feet are needed to construct the sanitary system 97.7 feet and the residence 59.8 feet from the wetland where 150 are required. Zoning district is an A residence, AE elevation 10. Secret class is type 2. Council, is the affidavit of service and posting in order?
Yeah, I reviewed the affidavit of service and posting, and everything seems to be in order, and the board has jurisdiction over this hearing.
Thank you, Council. Member Mering, do we have a field inspection?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. This is the first photo. It's taken from the road. You can see the posting on the pole, so it was visibly posted. I didn't put the picture up, but I do confirm that the information on the posting was correct. Next slide. I just turned from where I was standing and looking north towards the road end, and the beach and the water is in the distance there, and you can see the 2 houses to the north of the applicant's current structure. Next slide. And I just turned my back on the applicant's property just to look across the road to see the vegetation that exists in the area. Next slide. Okay, and then I turned back to get a better view of the existing cottage. I guess I'd call it a fisherman's type cottage that exists currently, and the vegetation in front of it. Next slide. And I wanted to also get the shot of the direct neighbors' property and their house. There's sort of like almost like twin cottages. Next slide. Okay, so I started to go onto the property, sort of up the driveway. I took a number of shots of the vegetation that goes around this property that is in there's disturbance obviously on the property, but there's sort of intact, a lot of intact vegetation on 3 sides of the rear of the property, especially. Next slide. So now I'm heading down the driveway back towards, this is the garage in the application that is slated to be removed. It sits towards the back of the property. Next slide. And then I'm sort of standing with my back almost towards that garage. So just to get a perspective of the rear yard of the property relative to the house, it's sandy, but it's, you know, mostly disturbed and cleared. And you can just see the current house in its position relative to the northern neighbor. Next slide. Again, I'm turning my back towards the house from that position and just showing the vegetation that exists on the, you know, around the western boundary or the rear boundary of the lot. Next slide. And then I moved over more towards the other rear corner that's just a shot around across the property line into the neighbor's lot. And the wetlands would be off the camera, sort of to the right. Next slide. And I'm still in that corner, but I just wanted to show, I'm looking directly north. And you can see, I just want to show the perspective of that neighbor's house. You can see it in the distance relative to this property. Next slide. And then this is the existing cottage. You can see how close it currently is to the side yard lot line. This house is going to be demolished, and I believe from the survey, the structure will actually move a little more, I think, almost towards the center of the front of the lot. Next slide. I think I only have one more. Oh, and then this is the vegetation, I think roughly in the area where you start to see the proposed scenic easement on that. There's a sort of corner of the property. So I didn't get it all, but just, I think, a glimpse of it. Next slide. And the wetlands would be, I think, to the back and to the right of this corner of the property. Next slide. I think that's it. Thank you.
Is there someone here to speak on behalf of the application?
Thomas Crouch, Wayland Filer, 532 Montauk Highway, Amagansett. Here on behalf of the applicants, Kelly Connors and Rick D'Amico. They're here tonight with their daughter. Just to get started, all familiar, this is the existing house. This is the existing septic system, which we'll call a top and bottom septic system right here. It's 57.4 feet to the left. This is the garage. That's what we're talking about the new shed. Then house here, septic system. The house will be raised to be it won't, it's been designed so it doesn't need any pyramid variances or any other setback variances. So the only variances we need are for wetlands, and as you can see, the entire lot is within wetlands jurisdiction. So, but just to get started, so the single goal of this application is to make the house suitable for year-round occupancy for the applicants and their daughter. The existing house is simply too small, even for the summer only. The applicants are friends of mine, so I've had the unique experience of actually staying in this house. It's difficult for 3 people. My wife and 18-month-old were with me, even for a short period of time. There's exactly 1 closet in the bedroom, and it holds the water heater. The dresser is in the living room. So the applicants purchased this property in 2019. They fell in love with the location near the bay and the close-knit neighborhood. In 2022, they moved to the house full-time with their then 3-year-old daughter. She attended the country school preschool program and then Amagansett pre-K. After a couple years, however, the family outgrew their existing house. They live most of the year in Connecticut and stay at the property for the summer only. The existing house is only 615 square feet, in gross floor area with 1 bathroom and 2 bedrooms. While the minimum house size allowed in East Hampton Town is 600 square feet, the 2 bedrooms are actually under the allowed size for bedrooms in the town code, which is 100 square feet. 1 bedroom is 82 square feet and the other one is 89 square feet. The existing house, which appears to have been built between 1978 and 1984, could not be built today with these bedroom sizes. The GFA would have to be larger than what exists. So as a result, the applicants have proposed relocating the house to increase the wetland setback as much as possible while providing the necessary space for year-round occupancy. The gross floor area is 1,601 square feet, which the planning department notes is a 160% increase in the gross floor area on the property. While this is a large increase in percentage terms, this is mostly a function of the extremely small size of the existing house. The gross floor area is still, of the proposed house, is still 823 feet less than the maximum allowed for this size property. So it's 2/3 of what could be built, which would be 2,424 square feet. So just even reviewing the bedrooms in the proposed house, or the rooms in the proposed house, you've got 2 bedrooms downstairs. One is 122 square feet when 100 is the minimum size. The other is 141 square feet. The main bedroom upstairs is 235 square feet. The kitchen is 277 square feet. The living room is 201 square feet. And they have a mechanical laundry room of 99 square feet. So the only room, these are all, to me, very reasonably sized rooms. The only one that stands out to me is the second floor bedroom. But even if you decrease the size of it, it wouldn't change the application at all. It's a second floor room, so if you decrease the size, it wouldn't increase the setback at all. And it would still be a 3-bedroom house and have the associated sanitary flow with a 3-bedroom house. So essentially we're asking for 1 additional bedroom and 1 bathroom, plus reasonably sized kitchen and living room. So as I said before, there's no variances needed beyond the wetland setback variance. And the applicants are offering mitigation that more than offsets the additional space. They will remove the existing garage and shed, so the total coverage on the property will decrease by 35%. They're putting in a low nitrogen septic system, which we installed at the greatest possible wetland setback on the property, which is 97 feet from wetlands, which will mitigate the impact of the additional bedroom. The applicant will remove the existing septic system, which is only 57.4 feet from the wetlands. The applicant has further agreed to a 50-foot conservation easement and a revegetation plan so that the existing level of clearing will remain. And there's other mitigation proposed by the planning department that the applicant has agreed to. So just to turn really quickly to the variance standards, granting this variance would not cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood and will not create a detriment to nearby properties. The proposed house is well within the allowed GFA regulations and would be similar to many houses in the neighborhood. The site conditions, coverage, wetland setbacks, and drainage would all improve. There's no other method for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. As I said before, the entire property is within the wetland setback. The requested variances are the least in magnitude that the applicant can request, given the site conditions and the location of the property. The IA septic system cannot be any further from wetlands. The grant of the variance will improve the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood, specifically through the IA system being installed, the 50-foot conservation easement, the revegetation plan, and the other mitigation measures. And the removal of the existing garage and shed to decrease coverage. So this difficulty is not self-created because, again, the entire property is within the wetland setback, so any change requires variance. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, please let me know.
So Tom, when you say you're amenable to conditions of mitigation by the planning department, you agree to the submission of the drainage plan because of the high water table in this area?
Yes.
And you're also amenable to their suggestion that the proposed clearing limits remain, for the clearing to remain closer to or less than the existing conditions?
That's right. We submitted a revegetation plan. So I think through construction, there will be around 2,000 square feet that are cleared, and we're going to revegetate back to that number.
Okay. Does the board have any additional questions?
Just going to your question that that the planning department requested a drainage plan, and you said you provide leaders and gutters. That is the drainage plan?
Yeah, I mean, that was my understanding is, I think it's leaders and, it would be leaders and gutters in the dry wells. If you want it, if the board or the planning department wants it shown on an actual, surveyed plan,
And that is suggested in the town.
okay, more than happy to provide that.
Any other questions? Would we like to hear from the planning department? Thank you, Tom. Hi, Morgan.
Good evening, Board. Morgan Slater for the Planning Department.
You affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. So this property is toward the northernmost end of Mulford Lane and Amagansett, and it's within the AE 10 flood zone, and it's undersized for the A residence zoning district, which are constraints that a majority of the properties in the neighborhood have. The wetland to the northwest is characterized by its low elevation and dynamic nature caused by its proximity to the bay. It provides valuable habitat to wetland-dependent species and also plays a crucial role in mitigating floodwater inundation during storm events. The application is to demolish an existing 615 square foot one-story house and construct a new 1,601 square foot two-story residence. The wetland setback of the residence is proposed to increase by about 10 feet to 59.8 feet. There does not appear to be a location on the property that would conform with the 100-foot minimum wetland setback and also meet minimum dimensional setbacks. The application proposes increases of 55% and 160% in building coverage and GFA, and a 35% reduction in total coverage, which is due to the removal of accessory structures. The IA sanitary system is required with the redevelopment, and its design includes additional fill to meet the minimum separation to the water table due to its high elevation. The sanitary system is proposed in the most conforming location on the lot, and while it shouldn't be considered as mitigation for the project, it will still result in an improvement to the residents' long-term environmental impact. The planning department feels that retaining native vegetation on lot is crucial given the dynamic nature of the area's coastal habitats and the environmental benefit that native vegetation provides to coastal areas. A revegetation plan was received August 11th that will result in no overall change in the extent of clearing on the property. I believe some of the clearing limits will basically be shifting from like the southern end of the lot to the northern end because of the way the house is proposed to be situated. The planning department recommends that the little blue stem included in the plan be eliminated and replaced with a species more consistent with the area, such as switchgrass. Increasing native vegetation within a flood zone is highly encouraged because it helps mitigate the flood waters. The planning department is also recommending a 50-foot conservation easement to protect the wetland buffer in perpetuity. The application proposes a large increase in the size of the residence on the premises with a slight improvement to the overall wetland setback. While the residence is increasing a significant amount, the extent of impervious improvements is slightly decreasing with the removal of accessory structures on the lot, and some areas that currently contain structures are proposed to be revegetated. One of the recommended conditions of approval is that covenants and restrictions be filed for the drainage structures on the property. I don't think, like, the planning department doesn't feel strongly that a plan should be submitted prior to a decision. It could be a condition, prior to a building permit that goes along with the filing of those, or at least the submission of those covenants and restrictions. And I can answer any questions the board may have.
Board have any questions?
No,
They've agreed to
Yeah,
your
they've agreed
suggestion
to everything.
and the vegetation has been
in terms of the conservation easement.
Yes.
That agreement is in sync.
Mhm. Yes.
Thank you, Morgan. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak to this application? Matt, do we have any callers?
You have one caller. Please stand by. And phone call ending in 6390. You are live.
This is Will Gopi. I'm here for the 370 Cranberry Hole Road application, the next
Okay,
one.
caller, just please stay on the line. That's going to be, I think, next.
Thank you, Matt. Tom, do you have anybody else want to speak to the application? Well, sure. Would you state your name for the record and not have to swear you in?
Rick D'Amico.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for the consideration. As Thomas mentioned, we moved out here and fell in love with the property, the neighborhood, the town. We'd love to raise our daughter here. We're trying to be as collaborative and cooperative with the zoning department, and we want to do what we can to improve the environmental impact. I have looked into that septic pool on the property and don't feel great about it and would love to upgrade it. And, you know, it is extremely close to those wetlands. And so you sort of take an outdoor shower and you're looking at how beautiful it is, and then you sort of know when you're flushing the toilet, it's contaminating it. So we appreciate the collaboration, and anything we can do, we're here to cooperate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to speak to the application? Tom?
No, that's it. The additions that Morgan proposed or changes to the revegetation plan are acceptable, and the covenants and restrictions that were requested in the TAM are also acceptable.
Thank you very much. Member Mary?
Yes, thank you. I'd like, in the matter of Kelly Connors and Richard D'Amico, 143 Mulford Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-84-2-8, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and close the record.
Second?
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. Next is Mariam Shaku, 370 Cranberry Hall Road in Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-128-1-26. Description is to demolish the existing residence and associated structures and to construct a new 4,420 square foot, one-story residence with 976 square foot attached garage, 2,559 square feet of decking, a 532 square foot pool with 109 square foot attached spa, 3,714 square feet of driveway, fencing, sanitary system, and associated structures, and to temporarily clear approximately 12,203 square feet of beach vegetation within the jurisdiction of duneland and beach vegetation. Relief sought is a natural resource special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code and any other relief necessary. Zoning district, A residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, secret class type 2. Council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, I reviewed the affidavit of service and posting, and everything seems to be in order, and the board has jurisdiction over this.
Thank you, Council. Member Mering, do we have a field inspection?
Yes, we do. Thank you. This first photo is a shot of the posting. It was properly posted along the roadside, and the information in it was consistent with the application. Next slide. Okay, I just turned my back to the applicant's property just to show a little bit of the surroundings. This is the parcel right directly across the entry to this property. And in the distance, you can see the body of water. And next slide. And I just looked, I think I'm looking east on Cranberry Hole Road just to get, again, another shot of the location. Next slide. Okay, sorry, I'm about to walk into the property. This is the driveway that exists coming right off Cranberry Hole Road, and in the very distance, you can see the existing structure that will be demolished. So as you can see, the current house is, set back from Cranberry Hole Road. Next slide. I'm just going to start taking some photos of the natural resources and the dune land. This is dune land that's in the front of the house that I think is already covered by an existing scenic easement. I believe I'm looking east. Next slide. I moved a little closer up the driveway to the house. I just want to show that is the direct neighbor across this protected dune land. This is the neighbor to the east. Next slide. Okay, we're approaching, getting closer to the house here. You can see there's dune vegetation on both sides. The house existing, the GFA is in the TAM. It's sort of a two-section sort of offset. Next slide. Oh, and I just tried to take a shot to the right in the slide is the neighbor, direct neighbor to the west. Next slide. Again, so this is more photos of the dune land and some of the topography in the front of the house. Next slide. Okay, so as we approach the house, the driveway, it's not a full circle, but the driveway on one side goes a little towards the right structure, and then the driveway extends towards the east where that other vehicle is. Just to orient you, I'm going to go down towards the left side of the photo beyond where that vehicle is, towards that the eastern boundary. Next slide. I believe this is the view from the end of that part of the driveway of the dune land characteristics surrounding this property. Next slide. And then I've just looked back towards the house from where I was standing there. So you can see it's sort of, it's fairly concentrated. You have the house, there's a deck, and then there's a garage. It all connects together with wood decking. You'll see better when I get to the rear of the house. All of this will be demolished. Next slide. Just as I'm going towards the rear of the house or towards the south, there's I guess it's an oil tank or a gas tank just sitting on the side, this side of the property. Next slide. All right, now I'm going towards the back portion of the lot or going south. So this is what you see the moment you get sort of parallel to the rear facade of the house. This is the whole area is carpeted in, I think it's a lot of bearberry, right? And other dune vegetation. I just wanted to make sure, because some of this I believe will be disturbed, proposed to be disturbed in the construction. Next slide. No, I took a shot of the carpeting of bearberry. Next slide. Again, more of the vista that is in the rear of the house. We'll have the discussion about, there was proposed scenic easement looked for by the planning department that covers almost most of the rear portion of the lots. There's a different proposal from the applicant, but this would all be sort of in play. Next slide. Okay, so I've now turned my back. Sorry, I'm sort of in the corner of the house. The garage, you can't see it, it's just would be to my right. This is the wood deck. The pool is there. It's a rather small amount of decking, and you can see it really just drops off. There's really no clearing around the structure. The vegetation is very tight to the structures. Next slide. I turn the other way, so that's the garage and the pool. Next slide. And now I'm going back towards the other, the western side of the house. There's a screen porch and the two parts of the residence structure. And you can see where it just drops right down onto the sort of very undisturbed areas. Next slide. So I just took a view. I didn't want to walk too much on the vegetation, so I didn't back all the way up. But again, just another view of the rear of the house. Next slide. Again, as you're coming around the house, this is more of the vegetation behind the house. Next slide. And then it just went circle around to the back, just a kind of a good shot of the house itself. I believe that's it.
Thank you. Tyler, could you pull up the picture of what exists and the overlay of what they're proposing? Yes, thank you. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of the application? Hello, James. Welcome.
Good evening, board. Jamison McWilliams from the Adam Miller Group on behalf of the applicant. I also don't know how to pronounce the name properly, so
I don't.
370 Cranberry Hole Road.
I did not.
I did want to, I brought something. It's not extensive. It's just a rendering and an aerial. I did email it to Tyler earlier after hours, though. Is that okay if I hand it to you guys? It's just something that I realized was not part of the file, but I did get them to do a rendering.
We're just going to have to leave one with someone for our secretary. Okay.
Thank you, Jameson.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then I did also want to state that the caller, Will Goth, is our architect. He couldn't be here in person, so that was who got tapped in earlier on LTV, the one that's ending in 6390.
So maybe you could address what this is.
If the board has any questions. Okay, so what I just handed you all is there's just two things. Wasn't really meant to start with that, but I can start with that. It was just that I wanted to hand it to you. The first is what I thought was an additional good sort of aerial of the existing site that I clipped from the internet when I was looking at the real estate listing. So you can see the subject property and the neighborhood from just a different angle. And then the second is a rendering, which we can get to. But as you guys know, this is an application to propose to remove an existing residence, garage, swimming pool, decking, fencing, and associated structures from a developed dune parcel and to replace it with a single-story residence with a swimming pool, decking, fencing, a slightly relocated driveway with a new IA system. It is for an NRSP due to the presence of the beach vegetation and dune land on the site. There are no wetlands on the subject parcel or within jurisdiction, and there are no variances required as part of this application. You know the site, it's zoned A residential, so it is quite a bit larger than the required lot size at 74,564 square feet, where 40,000 square foot is the minimum. And it does appear when you kind of look at the neighborhood, larger than some of the other neighboring and adjacent sites. As you know, the property is already significantly encumbered by this recorded scenic easement across the front half of the parcel. It is about 165 feet deep at the deepest part, and that was part of an earlier zoning board application requirement. I should have mentioned, there's the survey that we're looking at is last revised July 22nd, 2026. And I will mention it's actually like this 3-page document. That's what the Rayner Group, they're also the engineer for the septic. So they're both dated last revised 7/22/26. One shows the existing conditions, and then the second one is the proposed site plan. Kind of like it that way because you can see them separately, but then you have to flip between the two. And then the third page is the sanitary. So just getting into the proposal, existing, proposed, allowed. Clearing was a big consideration for the application for the TAM. The allowable clearing on the site is the 28,641 square feet. The existing is 10,270 square feet. And the proposed final is 11,334 square feet. The difference there between existing and proposed is just a little over 1,000 square feet. Obviously, it's the proposed during construction number that I believe was the most concerning in the TAM. We were able to reduce that number slightly, and that was part of the one of the suggestions in the TAM about looking to reposition drainage structures. So the proposal, the site plan that's most recently revised does show a slightly altered drainage structure location. The building coverage, those are the numbers and they're accurate how they're described in the TAM. The allowed is 8,399 square feet. The existing is 2,287 and the proposed is 6,368 partially. And I, get to that in this memo that I drafted or that I submitted. It's really due to the single-story nature of the structure, which I can get to more, but as you saw, the existing house is 2 stories, so they're able to achieve their, living space with a smaller footprint. I don't think that the existing meets FEMA. I know at the time of the original approval, it was actually on a different FEMA designation of, I think, A8, and now it's 10. Now we know that, there's a requirement of the 2-foot freeboard plus the additional 1.5 feet. So in terms of why the building coverage is increased, that's one of the considerations that gets us there. And the total lot coverage existing is 7,694, proposed is 11,334. So we are increasing that by 3,640 square feet, where we're proposing to. It is 18,065 square feet below the allowable. So I do know when we're comparing proposed to existing, these numbers, Tyler's not inaccurate to say that some of them are doubling or increasing by half or tripling, whatever those were, but they are all well under the allowable, in particular the clearing and total lot coverage. GFA, we are proposing a 4,420 square foot single-story residence. The existing is 2,497, and the allowable is 6,719. And I don't think I really have to go through the single-story again. That was, as I mentioned, it was really due to the FEMA compliance and consideration, and also one of the positives that our architect has provided me with this beautiful language that it presents the lowest possible profile against the dune and the bay and preserves the view corridor from Cranberry Hole Road. And a single story structure is the least visually intrusive form of development available on a dune parcel. Obviously, also the flat roof comes into play. We could go higher if we had a gabled roof, but the flat roof is just, a design consideration. So some of what we relied on in the memo is this sort of extensive neighborhood data analysis or the data pooling that Katie Osiki provided for us as we work in tandem with East End Land Planning. So in terms of the design, and another feature that we hope the board considers is the residence is proportionately smaller. In fact, I think it's the smallest new construction on the road, and that was, if we're looking at mass and scale, we're looking at, the size of the structure in relation to the size of other structures around it, but also to the size of the parcel itself. So this is a significantly larger parcel compared to the neighbors. So numerically, the GFA may seem larger than some of the neighbors, but it's because much higher allowable GFA because it's based on the percentage of the lot size. And the final clearing is among the lowest on the road. The final clearing number is the 11,334, which represents 15.2% of the parcel. And according to the analysis, the average final existing clearing on the neighboring parcels that Katie pooled is closer to 25%. So a few other notes that I made, because I don't want to go through all of this in more detail, but the house, obviously, the scenic easement burdens the entire front half. So both the existing house and the proposed house, as Member Meering mentioned when she was sort of laying lay of the land from the road, it's very significantly set back from the road because we can't construct anything in that scenic easement. So in terms of visibility from the street, while we've chosen this lowest possible profile against the dune. It's also, will be relatively obscured because of the distance setback from the road. Also, you can see it closely, if you look closely at the site plan, the topography, there is a little bit of, undulating hills here, especially on the east, the northeast side. So by the roadside, I think the elevation is only 7 and it goes up to 16 in some points. And while we were exploring that concept is when I asked the architect to do the rendering, so you guys can just get a sense of what it would look like from the road. And let's see. Just to sort of explain further the necessity for the construction clearing numbers. The sanitary, we are proposing the IA system. Obviously, that's going to be in the front, the north side of the house, the front yard. And there's really no way around that. We have to clear for that. The water table is high, so it requires this, larger, a wider, broader system because you can't go that deep. Similarly with the drainage structures, I tried to look back in some of the files. I don't know if there's gutters and leaders on the existing house. I don't know if they go anywhere. I don't know if there are proper, drainage structures that would keep the runoff on site, and I don't really know. I do know that back then, the original approval from the 80s was processed administratively. It was an admin at NRSP. I don't think that the town looked at, construction temporary clearing numbers. So I don't know if they, what that number was. If you do look back at the aerials, it was pretty, widely cleared around this existing structure before they kind of let the vegetation grow back in. But those are really the two main reasons why we're going to have to clear more temporarily. And then we get to our response to the TAM. Of course, most of the recommended conditions of approval are all pretty standard. We're fine with all of them. The one that the client, the property owner, just sort of pushed back a little bit on conversationally with us was the recommendation of the additional 95-foot easement on the rear. And I think, to be honest, I think it's because there is already such a significant scenic easement burdening the property that when you look at it in total, it's just vastly larger than, well, if you look at it in total, it's a very large number. It's half the property. And again, this property is like double the size of a lot of the lots in the neighborhood.
For a reason. It's a highly constrained lot. That's why the reasoning is there for the scenic easement. So you're not for the 90-foot. You're not for what the planning department is recommending?
No, we're not. And I don't know if it's a highly constrained lot in any other way than the other lots.
Because of the dune land habitat and the beach vegetation, for me, that's a very important part of this application, is to agree to that, because it would also adjoin the park. So it would give it that much, and you wouldn't be, can you pull up, Tyler, where that line is, that whole area, you wouldn't be able to do anything there anyway.
Right.
So I'm not understanding. It's a natural resource special permit. So in my mind, I can't speak for the board, but is enough being done to minimize the impacts for these structures and the residents? And there's a lot going on this property, and there's a lot of disturbance, and the clearing is very problematic for me, but I do feel that the 90-foot scenic easement request is reasonable.
Okay.
On the part of the planning department.
So I will say, just to address some of the mitigation, right now there's obviously a standard septic system. So I know that the board realizes and would hopefully agree that the benefit there is, like, the updated innovative alternative system is a good upgrade from existing. We would also be proposing to remove, there is a fencing in the rear we are proposing to remove. If, that we're hoping to tighten, the fencing on the proposed that would serve as the pool enclosure would just be right on the deck, unlike what's there now. And like I said, if sort of runoff and drainage and things like that, I don't know if there's any drainage structures on the property, so it is a bit of a catch-22. If we want to provide that, we do have to clear for it. And we did do what the TAM suggested and look for, some alternative locations to bring at least one of them more in the proposed driveway area. We're also going to relocate a little bit of that meandering driveway that's currently in the easement on the front yard into the required driveway area. It is something we could do anyway, but we will do that as part of this work. And then really the only other thing that I can sort of say in support of, and just so that it's clear, we're not saying we won't do any easement in the rear. It's just that, if we did the 95-foot, it would be a total of 37,079 square feet of the lot would be easement. And there is a lot of precedent on this road for NRSP's variances, development of vacant, undisturbed parcels even recently, and there's just no precedent for that degree of scenic easement.
Well, I think in this particular case, there is a need to protect the overall disturbance of those protected natural features. That's just my opinion. I'm speaking for myself. That's one. Does the board have any questions?
I just ditto that, and that carpet of bearberry was just amazing. I'd like to see it protected to the maximum it can be protected.
So I agree with the chair in the interpretation that there's a reason that this is, whether in your view there's a quote precedent or not, I think we're dealing with the standards. I have a few questions, just to clarify. I'll just run through them quickly. So you mentioned that the during construction clearing number, I think you said you reduced it slightly. So maybe it's in here somewhere, but what is your newest in construction, not the final, clearing number now?
It is, I have the number, and the team, one of them's on the phone. I made sure that was an accurate statement, but let me see what the number is on the.
Okay. So what does it say? I can't.
20,000,
right?
850.
So I wasn't clear if what was in this survey, you were saying you've reduced it further. That's
the number. Is that the number that was on the original
That's
survey?
the reduced number?
Okay, so it
She's
was
saying that's the reduced number, right?
reduced number.
Okay.
So the original application, which the TAM was responsive to, was a 22,000 number.
Okay. On the comparison data analysis that I know Katie put it together, I don't want to get into all of it now, but did you have, I didn't see it in the data of how many of those properties required either zoning or approval for a natural resources special permit or some other relief? And just curious, sort of the dates of when these were built. Do you have them or no? I didn't see it in your submission.
I think that some of that is built into the descriptions of each parcel.
Yeah. And then,
yeah, I can see it on a few of these entries, and that data is available. For example, on 200 Cranberry Hill Road, I'm just looking at page 15.
I mean, some of them are familiar, right, in
Yeah.
recent memory, but not all of
It
them.
has the date of the NRSP.
We don't have to go through them
Yeah.
now, but it's a flat roof. I don't see on the application a roof deck. Would you affirm that there's not going to be a roof deck on top of this?
No, I think that they're,
I know there's second floor decking, or what's the above the FEMA raise decking.
you know what, the quickest way to get that answer would be to see if Will is listening and if he wants to opine. Something is sticking into my head that I saw like a notation of a small deck, but maybe that's what we're. Will?
Oh, okay.
Stand by, please. Stand by. And unmuting 6390. You are back to live.
Great. Hi, board. This is Will Gosey. There is no roof deck being proposed on this residence.
Just the architect?
Yeah.
This is the architect. His name is Will Goethe, Goethe.
I'm sorry, where is the roof deck? How big is it?
I'm saying there is no roof deck being proposed. There's only a deck on the main level, elevated above FEMA.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
And then I just have one more question, Jameson. We do not redesign applications, but I would just like to have you address one of the key standards of the NRSP. Obviously, we are supposed to opine on whether the protected natural resources or features will be polluted, degraded, lost, or placed in peril. And then the standard tells us that we have to consider if there were no alternative reasonable uses or smaller buildings and structures. So could you talk about, how other designs and other things that might have been more compact, that might have been different in size and relative to the amount of clearing that's being done, and just opine for us a little bit on address this standard.
Yeah, I will say that I wasn't a part of the design considerations from the beginning, but this had done they did a lot of work to get to this point. It's my understanding, and Will can speak to it more clearly, that the original design had more GFA when they considered the total allowable GFA being almost 7,000 square feet, I think. So this is a compact desire. And, again, the temporary clearing and the final clearing are different. The board does allow routinely, to submit revegetation plans that will restore the habitat, and that's what we'll be looking to do. I will say now that, so just because we're talking about NRSP, the one note that I didn't put in the memo is just the board knows this, but an NRSP is a special exception use that is presumptively compatible with the neighborhood. So that at least this use of an NRSP is presumptively harmonious in the zone in which it is conditionally permitted. That's, New York State, that's well settled case law. I just want to bring that up in the context of, addressing the NRSP standards, that I want to make sure we're starting from, at least we know that it's presumed harmonious in some way. But if you want me to go back to the client to discuss the scenic easement to the rear, I'm very happy to do that. I don't know if the board is willing to, or if we want to hear from everybody else. I don't know if that's going to get you guys there. So I want to make sure we can have further discussions if I need to.
Go ahead.
I have a question. It's not exactly to that point, but you talked about moving the fence. To what extent are we moving the fence?
Oh, removing it.
You're moving it entirely?
Yes.
Around the entire property, not just in the easement?
Oh, there, yes, so there is no, we're removing the entire fencing along the rear. And that is not, whether it's the 50-foot or the 95-foot easement, I'm not
That's
sure
what
if
I
that.
wanted to get. You were not talking about moving it to the 50-foot mark.
Nope, no.
You're talking
I think
about
it's actually
removing
north of the 50-foot line.
Yeah.
It just sort of meanders in the rear there, and they don't need it.
They take it out.
And that was actually a discussion too with the planning department, I believe, because they did want to at first have the pool fencing not on the deck, but
Separate pool fencing that'll be tied to them.
that will be the only fencing, the pool fencing, yes. Unless there's fencing, there's no fencing.
Could I speak to that quickly? Just to the pool fence, because the pool is elevated up above FEMA, we don't need a pool fence surrounding an on-grade pool. So the applicant was fine with removing the fence entirely.
New information, thank you.
So I mean, I'm sorry, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say then, relative to the easement to the south, I'm in agreement with my board members. I don't know exactly the number that has to be arrived at. I know it was suggested by the planning department, but when you stand there, you can't help but think that everything that can be done to preserve that intact behind the house should be done. 50 foot does not seem to be enough to me. If there was a counter proposal, we might consider, but I got to tell you that 50 foot looks like it's half as much as what we might be wanting. And I see that the planning department did suggest more like 90 or 95 feet. So my sentiment is along the same lines with the other board members, is that anything we can do to give maximum protection to that field of bearberry that we see back there. You know, we see a lot of sites, and this is one that has an opportunity to preserve an awful lot of native duneland, and a lot of them already been so disturbed. There's other considerations. Here's one where I think we're gonna have to. I think it's incumbent on us to do the best we can to maximize the protection of land there. That's my opinion.
And also, when you look at the standards, and I'm looking at them right now for an NRSP, it does talk about the preservation of the natural resources. Alternative reasonable uses of the property are determined not to exist. I mean, is that how you feel, that there are no other alternatives that could reduce the overall disturbance? I mean, this represents a very significant increase in the development. You're increasing lot coverage by almost triple, total lot coverage by almost half, gross floor area by double for the residents, and clearing by more than double temporarily while under construction. And again, that we do have to look at whether or not this is compatible with the standards. Now, maybe a pool isn't conducive for this area. I'm not making a judgment tonight. I'm just saying, you know, you can't put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag. So I'm just saying, when I'm looking at these natural resource special permit standards, I mean, do you feel that there's no other alternative to limit clearing or reduce things or make things a little smaller, or things that we as a board, especially because it's a natural resource special permit, we need to look at, is enough being done to mitigate the impacts of this residence?
Right, okay.
Structures.
Well, I will say, one alternative obviously could be to leave it similarly developed as it is today, which is an old sanitary system. There is a pool, to your point. And we don't know if there's drainage controls.
But we can't look at it like that. I mean,
well, so that's one alternative.
Choice as to whether or not to go forward with the best application that meets the NRSP standards. And that's what we have to look at. And I'm always open to additional mitigation, you know that. I mean, I'm always trying to be fair, but I just feel that I don't want to redesign this project, but there's a lot of alternatives that I don't feel have been explored. And if you're willing not to, that's one thing. We can close the record tonight. But if you're willing to explore other alternatives, we can explore that as well.
Okay. I do want to say too, clearly the proposed during construction clearing is something that we need to work on. I think we're going to have to leave the record open for that also, if the board was willing to, but partially, we're going to have to look again. It's the drainage structures and the sanitary. The sanitary has other setbacks and considerations. You can see on the existing plan where the existing sanitary is, right on the property line, an old conventional system. This is, the most conforming location to avoid the scenic easement and meet the health department requirements for setbacks from the structure. Again, we've already tried to, and we did limit, reduce the proposed construction clearing by the 2,000, approximately
I
2,000
applaud the
square feet.
effort. There's no judgment here on my part. I'm just literally looking at the standards that we have to meet and taking it from there.
And just want to make sure, because this is like the one for the clearing, our final is only 1,064 square feet above what's existing. So actually, in my opinion, to be able to achieve, this single story, and we did say it's a larger footprint. I mean, Tam said that, but it's not sprawling by any means. To be able to achieve that with only an additional 1,000 square feet of clearing and be able to get some of those mitigation measures in place, I think was, well done, but obviously we need to do more.
Thank you. I think it might be appropriate to hear from the planning department.
Oh.
Can we hear from the planning department? Tyler,
Tyler Borsak for the planning department.
do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. So this parcel is located on the south side of Cranberry Hole Road in Amagansett. The project before the board is to demolish the existing residence, garage, swimming pool, decking, fencing, and associated structures, and to build a new residence with decking, new driveway, sanitary system, fencing, and associated structures. The parcel is currently minimally cleared around the perimeter of the existing improvements, and the proposed improvements represent a significant increase in the development of the parcel. Those numbers have already been gone over. I won't go over them again. Cranberry Hole Road is one of the few remaining areas of town where there is pristine duneland vegetation. Many of the characteristic plant species that grow in this habitat are restricted to native duneland soils with their rapid drainage, low nutrient levels, and their symbiotic dependence upon mycorrhizal fungi. These species and the undulating dune features which they form cannot effectively be created by landscaping techniques, and the most effective measure of conservation on privately owned parcels in these areas is to limit land clearing to the minimal area practical. Among the dominant vegetation are beech, heather, and bearberry. As you saw in the photos, bearberry covers a significant portion of the property. The value of the duneland habitat on this parcel cannot be understated. The application is proposing a significant amount of clearing of protected beech vegetation and requires careful consideration of the impacts of that clearing. The proposed redevelopment takes place mostly within the same approximate footprint as the existing improvements, as you can see on the overlay that I created, just to give you an idea of where the existing is and where the proposed. The existing would be in red, the proposed would be in green in this photo. The final clearing limits represent a modest increase in overall clearing, even considering additional clearing around those structures for access and routine maintenance that's not shown on the plan. However, temporary clearing for construction of the project is proposed to be 20,850 square feet in order to demolish the existing residence, stage and construct the new residence, and install the proposed sanitary system and drainage structures. The areas directly east and west of the existing improvements are a bit more disturbed than the rest of the property, with some black pine, autumn olive, and other potentially planted shrubs. But large portions of this area are still covered with bearberry, ground cover, and reindeer lichen. The proposed roof drainage and pool backwash drainage require a notable amount of temporary clearing and disturbance, with 5 systems all approximately at the same 270 square feet in area each. And then the surrounding areas for installation. A large area of clearing and disturbance appears to be centered around those structures. The board should have the applicant address the drainage and if there are any alternatives that could help to reduce the amount of clearing and disturbance required. although such improvements have been made since the assessment was written, we had discussed moving up the further southern, the two southern drainage structures further north. Those are the old ones in green, and they did shift them further north. The one on the west side's under the driveway now, and the west one is as far north as they can make it, to just try and help limit the amount of clearing south of the improvements. The parcel is located within AE10 flood zone, which requires an additional 2 feet of freeboard, as well as the New York State required 1.5 feet, for a first floor elevation requirement of 13.5 feet. After reviewing the plans and site conditions, it appears that a 2-story building that meets maximum height requirements would not have enough internal ceiling height in order to fit 2 stories. That said, the first floor residence is still expansive, even though the overall design is not sprawling, and it should be discussed by the board to determine if enough is being done to minimize the impacts of the proposed residence and associated structures, or adequately mitigated. As mitigation for the project, the planning department is recommending a scenic easement at the southern end of the parcel. The south side of the property contains some of the best dune land habitat and beach vegetation in all of East Hampton. Long-term protections of this valuable habitat should be paramount and is a reasonable mitigation for such an extensive redevelopment of the property. The existing scenic easement, which covers the highest quality dune land on the parcel and substantial dune land topography, was established as part of a 1987 ZBA approval. As part of a substantial expansion of the improvements on the parcel, a scenic easement over the rear of the property is a reasonable mitigation measure to help protect that vegetation and habitat in perpetuity. In addition to the intrinsic value of the habitat, this area also adjoins the Napeague State Park, which further expands the value of its preservation. The planning department is recommending an easement that covers the rear 95 feet of the parcel, leaving sufficient room for future development, while also preserving high quality, valuable dune land habitat and vegetation. The applicant has agreed to a 50-foot easement at the rear of the parcel, but the planning department still feels that a larger easement is reasonable, considering the value of the habitat will be protecting, the level of development being proposed, while not overburdening the property with limited options for future development. Each project needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. This project is proposing a large redevelopment and is proposing substantial clearing in order to complete and propose improvements in an area of valuable dune land. An easement that covers some of the most valuable dune land vegetation and habitat that exists in town, and which does not overburden the property in the future, is not an unreasonable mitigation measure for the amount of work proposed in the project. Much of the discussion with redevelopments on the properties on the south side of Cranberry Hole Road often center around consolidating appropriately sized development to limit clearing and keep improvements condensed. The applicants appear to have done this, that in this case, by utilizing the existing footprint to the maximum extent that they could and consolidating all the proposed structures in a uniform square design. But the overall scale of development and how to adequately mitigate that development is the main question for the board. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Tyler?
Yes, please. So Tyler, so I'm just rounding the numbers. So there's a final, the in construction clearing is almost 21,000 square feet, 2,850. The final is 11,000 something. So there's about almost 10,000 square feet to be revegetated or restored. So what does that look like? I know we've had many discussions before in properties that have these types of vegetation on them. And it's not like, oh, there's beach grass now, there'll be beach grass again, right? So, your view of, it's not just revegetation, right? It's a restoration of these very precious, and you said some of the best in all of East Hampton natural resources. So can you just speak to that a little bit? Like,
sure. I mean,
what are
some of the clearing that they're proposing to the east and the west, especially the east and the west of the existing house, that's sort of already, I wouldn't say disturbed because there's beach vegetation in there, but it's not as high quality as, the stuff that's further south or in the existing scenic easement. That's certainly the highest quality I think that exists. So those areas to the east and the west, I think, it's still protected vegetation, but it's not quite the same quality. So, I mean, in a revegetation, we'd want to probably see bearberry. Maybe, they want to include some more shrubby vegetation like bayberry, which does exist on the property, but I wonder if it was implanted in 1987 or sometime in between then and now. But yeah, I mean, 20,000 square feet of clearing, it's a large property though at the same time. It's a very large property. A lot of it's under scenic easement already. So that's why we came forward with the idea of the large scenic easement at the south, sort of offset that amount of clearing that's going to happen around the residents. There's already some disturbance around the residents. Obviously, there was a house constructed there. So it's not quite the same quality as the rest that's been left relatively undisturbed. I don't know if that answers your question.
I have a question about the drainage. Is all that drainage, all these devices actually necessary? Is there?
My guess is just because of how high the groundwater is, that they couldn't do deep drainage structures. So they had to spread it out over a larger surface area. That's my guess.
But that contributes to the clearing also.
Certainly,
right?
yeah. I mean, there's, the engineers are dealing with the numbers, the square footage of the roof,
right?
How much cubic feet they need to be able to hold for a 2.5-inch rain or 2-inch rain, however they designed it to. So there's only so much they can do, is my guess. But I just don't know.
So it goes right into the drain.
Yeah. It's good soils to drain through, but they have to design it for a certain spec. So that's my guess.
But just to oversimplify it, right? This is a 43, almost a 4,300 square foot that living story, right? So that's sort of the footprint, and it's a flat roof. So is it? I think you said this, but so the bigger the structure, the larger the drainage systems have to be?
Certainly, yeah. Well, yeah, the way it's a calculation essentially.
Right.
The surface area of the roof, the surface area of the roof, and they account for, I think, a 2-inch rainfall or 2.5-inch rainfall. I can't remember which one it is, and then that's their volume that they need to account for a rain event.
Where is the groundwater now relative to the septic? It meets the.
I'd have to go to the.
I think it's in here somewhere. I read it.
It just makes it, right? So it's not being like raised with retaining walls or anything.
No, absolutely not.
Any additional questions for Sean?
A minimum of a 3-foot separation from the leaching structure. The tank itself looks like it might be, but that's not a problem.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tyler. Matt, do we have any callers?
Okay, the architect is still on but muted, but we have 0 additional callers. If you'd like to talk to the architect, I just have to unmute them.
Do we have any additional comments? I don't, but no. I think a staging area is required. Is that in the construction protocol? If it got approved for construction?
I haven't looked at that now in a while.
Of the soils, right?
Here is proposed to be at the head of the driveway against the house.
And that's also where.
Has anything like that? I've not seen it, but I'm just wondering if it's appropriate here.
Yeah, well, especially you have to retain all those soils
Exactly.
on the property, right?
So we're going to be leaving the record open.
May I? I had some people that are watching that are on the team feverishly texting me.
What?
I had some people on the team feverishly texting me. Feverishly. We're going to go back to Rayner Group to try to further consider the drainage with 2 concepts in mind, obviously. Trying to tighten it, the footprint, to be able to reduce the clearing. We did that once, and but we hadn't heard from the board yet. We are also going to go back to the property owner about the scenic easement in the rear. I think your points are all well taken, and we're going to try to get that agreed to. I wrote down all of the notes about the vegetation in terms of a revegetation plan, but I don't know if the board wants. I'm going to try to address some of these larger outstanding questions. I don't know if the board also wants to see a proposed revegetation plan so we can put some of that bearberry in sewer plan. You want to see that now? Because at this point, we said we would just do whatever the planning department was acceptable to them. And I think American beach grass was the main consideration, but.
There's a condition of approval? I would think so.
Okay.
So I don't think.
You don't need that now.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Staging area, could we add that
Staging
to
area.
the protocol for,
Let's see.
I don't know if it's in the construction protocol, but I did look at it, but
I looked at it too, but I didn't write it.
Where the septic is going on the north side.
Yeah. Is that the staging area?
Staging area, and this area is,
That site should be, that portion of the site should be disturbed.
Right.
Septic will go in after primary construction. There's some comment like that.
okay, so how long, Jameson, would you like the record to be left open for?
Only because I have to reach out to Rayner Group. I might need a little bit of time.
Whatever you need.
Will you guys have a meeting in 4 weeks? Okay, yeah, so we won't be ready by the next meeting, so can we do the meeting after that, which is the 14th? The 15th?
The 15th of
September?
Oh, my goodness. And then do we want the planning department to respond to the submission? So Tyler, what do you think, another week or two or what? Okay.
Okay.
So we'll, Jane, leave it open till 9:15 for the applicants and give the planning department 2 additional weeks.
Okay. So that takes me to the 23rd.
Yes. 20,
Yep.
2 weeks
No,
from the 15th, I don't have a.
29th.
The 29th? Okay.
I will try not to drop it at the last date either. If I can get that in sooner so he has time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the Rayner Group rate drainage,
Right.
scenic easement in the rear,
Enhancing the,
and the staging area.
right.
Yes. And anything else I can address when I watch this back.
Any other alternatives?
Yeah, and right,
Other
I was
alternatives.
going to say that because we did ask you about other alternatives as well.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we'll address that more carefully because I think unless you want to hear from the architect at this point, alternatives that were considered prior to this submission, I'll put it in writing.
Entered into the record?
I'll put it in writing.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion?
We are ready.
Okay. Oh no, I have to pronounce the name.
I know,
In the matter of Mariam Ishak, 370 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-128-1-26. Going to make a motion to leave the record open until September 29th, 2026 for incoming additional information, specifically potential revisions of the drainage plan via the Rayner Group, another look at the requested scenic easement size, and some other potential other alternatives, as well as part of enhancing the construction protocol with a staging area.
More specifically, we want to give the applicant till 9:15
Oh, okay, so,
and the planning department till 9:29.
okay, so, pursuant to the motion to leave the record open for not up until 9:29, that accommodates the applicant's extension up to the 15th of September, unless they come in sooner, and then another 2 weeks for review and comments from the planning department, from our planner.
Second.
Concur.
Closing the hearing.
Oh, so about, yeah, I didn't make a motion about the hearing. If there was anything significant, would we could have it, you want to close it for now?
I
or
think we
leave it?
deal with what we have in front of us now and deal with that later.
Okay, so I'm also,
Should there be any,
so we're closing the hearing as well in my motion?
yeah.
Do I have to, I don't have to make the motion
Well, the
again,
record's
right?
going to close on September 29th.
Okay.
After submissions from the planning department, and I think at that point, we'll have enough information.
Unless there's something really material
Earth
change.
shaking happens.
Okay. Did all the board members?
I said second.
We close in here.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
Reading the
okay,
record.
yes,
Yes.
I concur.
Okay, James.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Sin, see you.
Okay, let's move on to the work session, post-hearing decisions. John Petriello and Ann Ward, 11 North Cape Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-55-4-17. Description is to allow pool equipment to remain 16.2 feet from the side yard lot line where 20 feet is required. Variances, relief sought is variance from 255-1110 and any other relief necessary. A 3.8-foot variance to allow pool equipment to remain 16.2 feet from a side yard lot line where 20 feet is required. This is my application, my district, so I will start. All of the documents are contained in our digital file, but I will state that I believe the hearing was held July 28th. John Petriello and Ann Ward were present. They represented themselves. Jake Kushner was the planner on this, and I'm going to be very brief in this decision. I don't think it's going to change the character of the neighborhood or affect neighbors in a negative way. It's not a substantial request. It's a 3.8-foot variance. The property is heavily screened. I actually, during my field inspection, I had a hard time even finding the pool equipment. So I believe it does meet the standard for grant, and I will be approving this application. Member Kiley?
I've also seen this property and agree that the pool equipment is very hard to find. I don't believe it is a detriment to the neighborhood, changes the character, so I'm as well.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with both my fellow board members on this. I would say that not only is it heavily screened, but it's at a great distance from the road. I don't see it as being, it wasn't a great ask. It's 3.8 feet. Fortunate that it's there, but I don't think this is a problem.
Thank you. Member Berger?
Yeah, I'm also going to approve this. The applicants bought this and did not get a C of O with the purchase. However, the C of O from 2002. This pool equipment has been there for a long time. I think it's not a large variance, and it's situated nicely where it is and protected and been well taken care of. So I'm going to approve this also.
Member Mering?
Yes, thank you. I agree with all that my fellow board members have said, and also, as Member Berger said, the amount of time that this has been, the non-conforming pool equipment has been in its place since 2002 was also persuasive to me, and so I'm approving this application as it meets the standards as well, I believe.
Thank you. Council, we're moving on, okay? We're good? Okay, other decisions. Walker, 70 Cliff Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-174-2-24. Modification of a 2025 determination. Tyler?
Yes, so this modification, it's a bunch of small things mostly. They are requesting to widen the front entry steps, which would be up here. You can see them now, they're like 20-something feet wide. They were originally 4 feet, fairly minor change. To remove posts on the front porch. So this front porch, there used to be posts on it. Doesn't really impact the natural features at all. They are changing some windows and doors, as you can see. And they're also changing from what was a shed roof, it had a slight pitch to it, to just a flat roof. And then as far as things that have more impacts, they're proposing a small barbecue area here next to this shed. And a generator back here at the rear of the lot.
You're right above the red.
Can you zoom in a little?
Yeah, I know the colors are impossible to see. So these steps here, it looks much better when it's printed. So these steps here are slightly wider. This barbecue area here behind the shed, and then this generator here. Those are all those new structures. The rest is, and there's also a second-story deck that they're adding within the footprint of the building. They're removing posts here on this building and changing windows and doors. So all of those really don't have any impact on the NRSP. It would just be the steps, the barbecue area, and the generator, which are all, again, fairly minor.
So, I'm sorry, they're going to a flat roof from a shed roof?
Yeah.
And then when you say a second-story deck, is it a roof deck, or is where is this?
Yeah, it's a roof deck.
So what's the height now in the pyramid? Oh, well, that's the pyramid's not an issue, but.
Yeah,
So what's the height?
It doesn't have any impact on that actually at all. Here's the roof. There, it's very small.
Right. I'm sorry, that's the size of the roof deck?
That's the roof deck.
Oh, okay, so it's not the whole new
No,
flat roof?
it's very small, yeah. I mean, you could consider it a balcony, but you can actually step out on it. It's very small.
Can I see the scenic easement again?
From a room on the second floor?
Yeah.
Say it again?
You're calling it a roof deck, but it's not on the upper roof, it's on the lower roof?
That is the upper roof, yeah.
How do you step out from where?
Not certain.
Okay. If I don't
Jump
see a
out the window.
staircase, I'm wondering how
You
you
pop
get
the
up there.
hatch.
It's the roof plan.
Okay. I believe you.
Unless it's just a second story, it must be a second story out of the bedroom.
It's a roof deck on top of the first floor.
Okay, right, that's, yeah, then, yeah, okay, got it, yeah,
It's a roof deck on the roof on the first floor.
okay, got it.
Again, it's within the existing footprint. It's, yeah, there's.
Are we okay with this?
Yeah, can I just see the scenic easement again, the final on the survey? Because there was one in the rear, right, that we. Where is it?
It would be this blue line.
Right, small.
Okay.
Is everyone okay?
Yeah, I am. Are you okay? You okay with it? Jim, are you okay?
Yes.
Yeah, and prefer to have them come in before they start their construction than do it after the fact, right? So, okay, so motion, or do we need a?
I think that council will come back with a resolution.
Oh, right.
And we will make a motion then.
I always get tripped up on that.
I know, it's easy to do. Building permits / CFOs, Devlin, 60 South Forest Street, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-28-8-32.1. Carla, somebody?
Hi.
Morgan. Oh, Morgan.
Yeah, this one was my application. So they're in for their CO inspection, and it pretty much looks good. There were just a few numbers that were slightly different than the approved. The clearing and the building coverage are both less than what was approved, so that's good. The clearing is actually almost 1,200 square feet less than what was approved. The only thing that is more is the total lot coverage. It's 399 square feet more than what was approved. The as-built conditions look pretty consistent with what was approved. There might have maybe been a little extra patio bump out here and there somewhere, but it's honestly, it's hard to discern totally. We don't really anticipate any additional environmental impact from that, and kind of like the additional re-veg almost offsets that in a way. The other item that will likely need to be fixed before they get a CO from the building department is the placement of the above ground propane tanks. They, everything meets minimum wetland setbacks. Most of the developed areas within 150 feet, but more than 100 feet. They are within the minimum side yard setbacks for town building code, and I believe also state building code. So the planning department's recommendation is that those get moved to a location that is satisfactory to the building department prior to the issuance of a CO. So we don't necessarily believe that they need to come back with a revised survey showing their location as long as it's satisfactory.
Are we talking about the propane tanks?
Yes, the propane
tanks.
Yes.
So they're going to be, as long as they're outside of the wetland setback.
As long as they're outside the minimum wetland setback, it would be pretty crazy if they ended up in the minimum wetland
So as
setback
long as
on
that
this
is taken
property.
care of, that would be the only.
And obviously the building
stipulation I have.
department.
Okay.
So that'll be stipulated to the
Yes.
building department,
Right.
so they know.
Yes, yes, I will send a memo to the building department stating that the propane tank should be moved to a location that meets minimum wetland setbacks and also side yard setbacks.
Okay, as long as that's done, I think I'm okay with
Coverage went
it.
up by 1,000 feet.
The coverage is not up. The coverage is
The
only.
overall coverage went down by 1,000.
Yeah, so total coverage went up by 399. building coverage went down by 152, clearing went down by 1,167.
Oh, okay.
And the increase in the 300 plus square feet, again, just to make
Yes.
sure, it's all outside of wetland
Correct,
setbacks.
yes, yes. Yep, the easement has been established, the re-veg has been established. It'll
Thank
go
you,
to
Morgan.
inspection.
Okay, as long as that propane tank issue is resolved, I'm fine with this. How's everybody feel?
I'm okay.
No, we're gonna have to do a letter. Thank you, Morgan. Extensions of time, Gershon, 116 Navy Road, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-26-1-14, extension of a 2019 determination. Tyler?
This was a 2019 approval out on Navy Road. It was partially out of jurisdiction. It was to construct a 700 square foot swimming pool, 141 square foot pool house, 521 square foot of decking, and a portion of a 2,981 square foot residence. It was actually partially out of jurisdiction, or a lot of it was out of jurisdiction, if I remember correctly. The property hasn't changed. The project limited fencing is actually in place. They just haven't received their building permit yet, and they're requesting an extension of time in order to do so.
Seems okay to me. Nothing has been done yet.
They did apply for a building permit back in June, but then it got stopped at some point in time. I don't know the reason why, but yeah, nothing's been done other than put project limiting fencing in.
Okay.
2019 was the only thing. This house didn't have anything after that, did it?
I'm probably
so.
thinking of another
I
house.
don't believe so.
Sounds,
There was snow on the ground, yeah.
The two properties are in the same name, so maybe you're thinking about this one. But nothing's really happened with that. I mean, it's been done, and we issued a CO. You signed up on a CO for that one.
So this is,
Unless the stairs came in, but I don't remember the stairs coming back in. But I can remember.
is this
No.
the third extension of time or something like that?
2019.
Probably be the third, yeah.
Third, okay,
I'm okay with it.
okay.
Yeah, so much.
Okay, so we're good with that.
So we need a motion. I'll make it.
Okay.
So the application for Gershon at 116 Navy Road, Montauk, tax map 300-26-1-14, make a motion to approve the extension of the 2019 determination.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Okay, let's move on to, the minutes. Draft minutes of Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Member Berger.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes of Tuesday, August 4th, 2026 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
Concur.
Move on to the resolutions. Patrick Brennan, 48 Agnew Avenue in Montauk. Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-31-2-37. Who did this? Okay.
Okay, I'm sure we all remember this one. Been around for a while. Okay, and ultimately, this was originally in January hearing, then we had a subsequent hearing requested by the applicant for propane tank and AC unit. And then finally, there was another small item that was covered in the last meeting that we had for the brick patio up front. And so I would make a motion. I read it. It looks good. For Patrick Brennan, 48 Agnew Avenue, Montauk, tax map 300-31-2-37 to approve the resolution as written. Now, it wasn't a complete all-around approval, but I think we all looked at it.
I asked for that change on the patio.
The stone patio in the back was a total denial, and
It's total denial.
and the applicant, as we all know, came in with a better location
Right.
for the.
So do we have a motion? Did you make a motion yet?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second.
Concur.
I'll concur.
Next is 22 Shore Road LLC, formerly known as 22 Shore LLC. 22 Shore Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-131-8-7. Remember,
This
oh,
was
that
mine.
should be yours, correct.
This was
Yes,
mine.
James.
I did not write down all the machinations on how we voted on this. I'm sorry about that. But
No problem.
this is 22 Shore Road. Something was in front of us several times. It came again in front of us, and we had a vote to approve and split vote. Again, I'm sorry, don't have that. Do we want to read it? Or someone else want to remember what it was?
Split vote?
Yeah. on
We
this.
can, yeah,
Well,
we can just
I
approve
think-
it as.
I read through the thing, but I don't remember exactly who voted for what, because we did split our vote on this.
There's portion we all denied.
Some portion we all denied.
Yes.
And
It's
I'll-
part of the
I'll
record,
read
I
it
wouldn't
in,
worry about it.
Then in the matter of, I'd like to make a motion in the matter of 22 Shore Road LLC, formerly known as 22 Shore Road LLC, 22 Shore Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-131-8-7 to accept the determination as written.
Second.
I concur.
Recused.
You did.
Oh, I didn't hear him, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. 114 Neck Path LLC, 114 Neck Path Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-103-8-1.4. Member Kylie.
This is a property that has come before the board through the building department for continuing to work without permits on several dates, April 26th, May 1st, again on June 24th. Want to make a motion to accept the determination of the denial of,
Well, no, we actually upheld the code enforcement.
so.
Yeah. That's the wording. Perfect, okay. So,
That's what I noticed.
I know, and I knew that. So you're making a motion to accept the resolution as written?
Yes.
Okay, second?
Concur.
Concur. Peter Bickford, 248 Old Stone Highway, Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-83-5-9.1. Member Kylie.
Yes.
I do the homework for everybody, okay?
No.
It was the dormers.
Yes, no, the dormers and the generator. This property, proposed dormers are,
Unanimous, I think.
yes, it was. Minor addition to the residence, no increase in gross floor area. They will, increase floor area by 27 feet. They will not impact the environment that are already associated with the existing improvements. There are no nexus to require an IA system. In terms of the generator, this is already placed, or could be placed in a well-screened area. It's functional, it's the shortest distance to the property, and will not interfere with the facade of the house, which is a prominent historic house in East Hampton. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the determination as written.
Second?
Concur.
Seaside 61 LLC, care of Oren Sandowski, 61 Seaside Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-32-4-23. He did this.
This was mine. This was an application to replace an existing bridge with an improved bridge, one that would have an additional capacity, weight capacity that would allow for emergency vehicles, fire trucks and the like to pass over. The existing bridge had suffered some settling, and it seemed to be something that had to be placed. We thought that was a good idea. Also in front of us was a gate that came onto the corner of a 6-foot fence that was right down in the wetlands. Member Mearing had challenged whether or not that could be moved, and they agreed that they would take and cut that corner and bring it back as tight as they could to the fence. It was only an improvement of a foot or two, but it was an improvement to get it out of the wetlands. And the other thing was the approving of the driveway that serves 3 properties coming in, being of a pervious material. We voted 5-0 in favor of it. It was unanimous. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion that in the matter of Seaside 61 LLC of care of Owen Sandowski, 61 Seaside Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-32-4-23, to accept the determination as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Vice Chair, do we have an adjournment?
I do, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to close the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing and work session for August 18th, 2026 at 8:57 PM.
Second.
I concur.
Thank you, Matt.
Have a good night, board.